Hey guys, Justin Brock here with the Insurance Gurus podcast. Got my buddy here, Steven Martinez, our Chief Marketing Officer, and we're sitting down today with Scotty Elliott. And I'm going to read this beautiful write-up for you all because it'll help us get off on the right foot. Scotty's got a lot of experience in the industry, and I wanted to have him on because he's because of that experience and because he's always been gracious and sharing with us and inviting, and just spent some time in Tampa with him, and just think he's a good dude to have on here for you guys to learn from and share information with. So Scotty Elliott is the president of Life and Health Brokerage of Amerilife Group. He plays a prominent role in leading Amerilife to its current position as the national leader of marketing and distribution of life and health insurance, annuities, and retirement planning solutions to pre-retirees and retirees. Scotty is responsible for leading Amerilife's most robust and profitable distribution vertical. Presently, his organization consists of 30 marketing companies and over 800 employees. Under his direction, Amerilife has enjoyed unprecedented growth. Midway through 2021, revenues are up 20%, and they're on a path to generate over $80 million in profits. Scotty's organization accounts for $350 million of annual Medicare Supplement premium, 350,000 plus annual Medicare Advantage enrollments, and $130 million of annual life premium. This business is generated through a national network of over 200,000 insurance agents and financial advisors. Prior to joining Amerilife in 2019, Scotty was the Chief Distribution Officer of Heartland Financial Group out of Kansas City, Missouri, where he had led a national network of FMOs, IMOs, agents, and advisors. He helped HFG facilitate and integrate 4 marketing companies during his brief tenure. Before that, he served One Life America as the president and CEO for 8 years. One Life was the largest independent distributor of final expense products in the industry. Scotty holds an accounting and MBA degree from Mississippi College. Woo woo!
Let's go.
The SIP. I think love and work maybe brought him down to the SIP. He's maybe not a native, but he might as well be. But he graduated with honors and was a record-setting quarterback on the football team. He also was placed in the institution's Hall of Fame in 2007 and received the Young Alum of the Year award in 2021. Look, Scotty, we don't, you don't have to show us up with this stuff, okay? I mean, that's good. That's good. MBA,
that's good stuff. It is.
And if you guys are out there listening and you're thinking, how big can you get in the industry? Those Amerilife numbers are huge. And big numbers. That's going to be the pinnacle of brokerage distribution numbers out there. Absolutely. With maybe only one other entity that may or may not have bought their way into that arena in the last few years, but maybe only one other entity that would actually, be in a competitive range of that kind of volume. 350,000 Medicare Advantage enrollments. I can't imagine the complaint traffic you have to distribute because we're nowhere near that. And every time I get one, I'm like, oh God, what is this? You probably are immune to that now. You're probably like, oh, 99% of them are nothing. The 1%, well, they deserve what they got. But no, Scotty, man, I appreciate you being here. I want to, Steven will tell you I'm a chatterbox. He has to interrupt me. I'm trying to get better. But basically, I'd like to tell I've known Scotty since I believe it was an HFG One Life combo trip when HFG and One Life were kind of at that point where they finally merged to the point of going on a trip together. You spoke quite a bit there. Were a great speaker. Came up, introduced yourself to me. Of course, your wife was a native Mississippian. You guys were very nice to me and my family. And I think was it Costa Rica or Dominican? I can't remember which one it was, but one of those. And ever since then, we've had a friendship from abroad, and actually, you guys reached out to us to have us at your Amerilife kickoff, which we thoroughly enjoyed building those relationships and hope we brought value. And anyway, now we're here, and I appreciate everything you've done to help us and the relationship as it grows. So thank you for being here.
Well, look, the pleasure, the privilege is all mine, Justin. Stephen, thank you so much for having me. I'm truly humbled to get a chance to be on your podcast, man, and just so amazed at the things that you're doing. I think you're a positive change agent to our industry. There's no doubt about that. And I'm the consummate example. As you read that bio that was drawn up by our marketing team here, um, you know, uh, I'm the consummate example of being in the right place at the right time. So thankful. I can't take credit for most anything on that. It's all been a collective effort. And, as it pertains to Amerilife, I'm just humbled to be a part of what we're doing here. And again, stepped into a great place at an opportunistic time. And so it's been fun to be a part of it.
Hey, I know all about being in the right place at the right time for sure. So, but I had a really smart guy, Richard Cantu, that told me something one time. Let me see if I can paraphrase it. We were doing things really well, and I'd get on these conversations with Richard every now and then, or Dante. He sold his business, Go Medigap, several years ago to eHealth and cleaned up pretty well, and still takes the time to talk to us little guys. But when I was talking to him on a long conversation, I told him, I just, feel so fortunate and almost like worried that one of those pits of the roller coaster of life is going to come, because so far it's just been like, up and up and up. Everything's, going so well for us. And of course that can change. We know that, there are circumstances completely beyond our control. But he told me that we were where we were at, not by sheer luck, but because every day we work towards that, and so not to take credit for it, because obviously God and circumstance does get credit for it. But there are plenty of people that have God, have the same God and the same circumstance, but don't do what they do day in and day out to put themselves where they are. So you do deserve credit for that, because I've seen your level of professionalism and intent. So, but again, let's go back to the beginning, Scotty. I want to hear it from you, man. How did you end up in the I mean, you got an MBA,
Yep.
You're a college quarterback, you're supposed to be the president of a bank now, you're not supposed to be in insurance. That's for us, weirdos and ruffians. How did you end up in insurance?
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
Well, look, and I appreciate your sentiments on faith. Everything I do is through that lens, so I've always sought to be prayerful and take it a day at a time. Sometimes we get out in front of our skis, but there's no question, as I look back on it, it was a God ordained path, and I'm so humbled and thankful for it, because I think this is the best industry in the world, best kept secret. Of course, it's not so much a secret anymore as more money gets involved in it, and but yeah, so I was always aspirational, to be a college head football coach. That was my childhood dream. I've been a lifelong avid Florida Gator fan, and so as a kid, I used to run around the house with a visor on, a la Steve Spurrier, and drawing up football plays. That's right, chomp chomp, baby, orange and blue through and through. But yeah, so that's what I was aspirational toward. I was very blessed to be in a household with a stable family, incredible parents. A father that was a small college president. He just retired at Meridian Community College after a 22-year stint there, and as such, he always told us the importance of getting an education. Right, so I was in that, kind of in that environment, if you will, and so. Although I wanted to be a college football coach, I thought that a good contingency plan would be get the practical accounting degree, so I have a fallback. And moreover, in my mind, I want to be the head coach of a school like the Florida Gators, which it helps to have that financial acumen as well. So yeah, I was well on that path. So I played ball at East Mississippi Community College, proverbial last chance U, for a couple of years, and then followed my wife, if I'm honest. Once I realized after a couple of years in the Mississippi JUCO League that an NFL career was not in my future, I just wanted to finish my career and learn some more football. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was at UMC in Jackson, studying to be a dental hygienist. So Mississippi College, as you Mississippians know, is not far from there. So that made sense to me. I wanted to be close to her, finish up my football career, get a good, academic education. And so I was a GA, working towards being a college football coach. Got married during my GA stint as I was knocking out my graduate studies, and realized a couple things. Number one, I didn't marry a college football coach's wife. And I say that somewhat in jest, but also, I mean, that lifestyle, I mean, you're never home, you're nomadic. You can't really control your destiny, and you can come in next day and your staff is gone. And I was seeing this, and it just really didn't resonate with me, at a level of, hey, that's what I want to do, and have a family. So long story short, had a couple of different career stops, worked in the admissions department there at Mississippi College, and then I was a pharmaceutical sales rep for a brief stint, and then ultimately landed coaching high school football. And I felt like, in Meridian, Mississippi, which is where Elena was from, this would be a great opportunity for me to have a platform, be a positive impact on young people. I love coaching football, love football, and I was really, really happy. I felt like it was in my proverbial calling, and obviously you're not making a lot of money in that deal, but it's a very impactful career. And I coached Kim Parker's son.
Oh, yeah.
That was my avenue, pathway in the insurance business. He was, Daniel was a senior, and I just built a close relationship with him, helped him as he was aspirational to get to the college football ranks. And as a coach, that's part of your deal. You're chopping up film, you're reaching out to college coaches. So I developed a relationship with him during that process. Unbeknownst to me, his father the whole time is observing this and watching my work ethic on that front and seeing some of the giftings that I had. And he had been roughly 33 years at the helm of Parker and Associates, and was getting tired of the day-to-day grind, and didn't have an emerging leader within the enterprise to take that over. Saw something special in me that I'll forever be indebted to, and and offered me a life-changing, opportunity that, quite frankly, I couldn't pass up. Um, and I found that, coaching football was perfect preparatory ground for what I would do. I coach every day. That's what I do. I'm not on the gridiron. I'm not doing X's and O's, but it's the same stuff. And so, so God had a plan. I'm thankful for that. I've never looked back. Certainly I missed some elements of coaching football, but I've been able to get, fulfillment out of being a part of motivating people, leadership development, achieving goals, trying to shape culture of competitive excellence, and all the things that I was trying to do on a high school football program level. I've been able to do, hopefully, at even a larger level, and impact even more people, across the country.
Nice.
So, needless to say, it wasn't something I aspired to.
No, I like that. So Ken, that's it. That's a different story.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious you to expand on that a little bit. When you came in, was it in a sales position, or was it in more of a leadership position? Like when you first come into the industry.
No, great question, Stephen. So, it's really an odd. It was an odd materialization, to gravitate to ultimately, which was a CEO role of One Life, and it happened within a 3-week time period. So he wooed me over basically to head up at that time, and that at Parker and Associates. It was 2010. March the 1st was my hire date, and he was really at a critical cusp of trying to reestablish identity, because he had taken a black eye in the Medicare Advantage world. We had lost a couple of contracts due to compliance and things that, quite frankly, were outside of his sphere of control. And he was made an example of. And so he was wanting to reestablish himself as a leader in final expense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was helping to shape that in kind of a marketing sales role. And then about 3 weeks on the scene, I kid you not, I think he just identified something in me. And, he's a quintessential entrepreneur, risk taker. And one weekend I got a call from him and Wade Parker, his oldest son, and said, look, we've seen your work ethic already and been able to work closely with you over the last 3 weeks. And we felt like we had a talent, but we didn't know the stuff that you would bring to the table. And we'd like to, make you president and know that you'll be a work in progress. You're going to have to learn the business, but you've got the intangibles that it's going to take to lead Parker and Associates into a new era that'll be necessary. And I think that outside perspective that, because we had to make some formidable changes, even on the personnel front, that weren't going to be easy. And so I didn't come in with any baggage or relationships, and which was a great education for me at a very young age. I was 27 at the time. So we had to make some hard calls. And so, yeah, Stephen, it was pretty much CEO role out of the gate, by title at first, because I'm a big believer, you got to earn the right to lead, and that took me about 3 years. I had a position, it was positional power, but I hadn't earned the right to lead yet. But I got in there and rolled my sleeves up, and I was just honest with everybody. That was my mantra, work ethic, be transparent, be honest, assemble a team around me that we could go at this thing with a shared governance model. And so I did all that. We rebranded the company, to give us something to rally behind. And we had to get some of the people off the bus that weren't going to fit, the culture that we were going to try to foster. Because that was the first thing, was to say, hey, who do we want to be? And so, yeah, looking back, it was an unbelievable education, opportunity of a lifetime, and had to learn quick.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome takeaway, though, because a lot of people are always looking for somebody that has experience, maybe in your specific field or industry. And so, for him to identify that in you and seeing some of the things that he wanted in a leader, that's a good takeaway that, a lot of people can get from that, because again, you don't necessarily have to have experience in what you're doing, just that you have, like you said, the intangibles to get the job done.
Yeah.
Let me say this too, and I know Justin, you got a remark, but I can't not interject on this point, because it's important for me, certainly with your audience, Justin. That's a testament to Kim Parker, and the Parker family. So I had the benefit of getting to know them really close, and he was an awesome individual, and I'm forever indebted, and look, I was fielding phone calls at the time, people that, we had a marred reputation, to say the least. We were rebuilding the house, and I would tell everybody, it's one brick at a time. So anybody that has something that felt like we lied, cheated, stole, I want to talk to them, because I'm going to learn through that experience, and I want to hit each one of those, things head on, because we got to rebuild the reputation, and it took a while, but I felt like we did a great job of it. We didn't make everybody happy, but again, that was a testament of Ken and he took a risk on me, and I'm forever grateful, and hopefully it paid off for him.
Yeah. Well, and given where they were at in that, business trajectory, it may have made sense too, a little bit, to say, let's take somebody from outside the industry that's got, the intangibles we're looking for, to be like an intermediary and start to mold and change the relationship that we have with the industry and some of our past relationships. When I came in to the industry, and I was, I came in on the road warrior. My dad was an agent. He was a successful MedSup first agent, cross-sell a few final expense policies here and there. I didn't know what an FMO was. I didn't know any of that. I came in, my dad said, "Oh, fill these papers out and go out, and I'll pay for half of your direct mail, and you have to split all your business with me, and you have to go street under me." And so I didn't know what to deal with. That was the deal. Like, that was, it was my dad, so that's what I was going to do. And as I started researching stuff, one of the first groups I came across online, like forums and stuff, insurance forums, which, by the way, don't go to that website. It's a bunch of people hiding behind pen names to talk smack about people. But one of the first things I saw in there was like negative stuff about Parker and Associates. And, later on, I realized that was One Life, because you guys were probably in that rebranding phase when I came into the industry. But by the time I met you guys were obviously had come full circle. And the Medicare Advantage side to that, anybody that was going through massive Medicare Advantage rollout at the time, especially a group coming from the final expense side straight into Medicare Advantage, because you still see this now, was going to have to go through issues. And they made an example out of a lot of people with early Medicare Advantage complaints, knee jerk regulation response that was crazy. And what's interesting now is to see, like, now the market or CMS's tolerance, it seems like, is right for the final expense style agent to come into Medicare Advantage. But at the time, they weren't ready for that type of sales strategy in Part C. And it's not really the final expense agent's fault. It's that, they were knee jerk reacting to consumer complaints, whether founded or unfounded. And some of them, I'm sure, were founded at the time, because people would come in and didn't know what a med sup was, and were saying, "Here, this is a free med sup." And because my dad was one, because he was a med sup agent in Mississippi, that we were he was, before my time, he was the subject of some of that, where people were coming in and replacing his med sups with free plans. And he got on, I think this is back in the Windsor, I believe. We still had a few on the books, like when I came in, but it was the Windsor push. And a lot of these companies didn't have big brand names. They didn't have, it was kind of like, let's see what happens in the market. And that was just it would have been a rough time to be pushing. I know a lot of people made a lot of money in it, but a lot of them made a whole lot of money really fast. And then, it was like a huge fall off. But now we're in a time where there's an entirely different type of agent that I see as being, difficult to deal with. And it's the fly by night, overnight private equity call center, right? Ones that are just like, oh, I know what we can do. Let's, borrow $14 million, hire a bunch of people on the internet and plug them into our CRM, and then send them live transfers from the Ukraine or Pakistan. And somehow, I guess the tolerance of CMS is just so much higher now that they're letting people get away with that. And I always wonder, are we going to have another knee-jerk reaction moment? Or is the temperature in Washington just so much that they want Medicare Advantage to happen, they're just going to keep allowing it to go on? And for me, I don't know if one of those options is better than the other, right? Because the knee-jerk reaction is always like, and pardon my language, but basically one guy shits his pants and everybody else has to wear a diaper for it. That's what happened to Parker and Associates too, right? And so that's one option. The other option is business as usual. It keeps going on and we keep having to deal with the private equity turnover. Maybe eventually the market will just learn, like all the Blackstones in the world will say, the lifetime values are not here. We have to adjust what we're paying up front for this heap comp stuff. And then, it'll kind of weed some of that out. But I think that's probably the best solution, is to let private equity and free enterprise kind of solve the problem for us. Because if CMS tries to solve it, they're just going to make it worse.
Bad. Yeah.
So. There's no doubt. Look, that to your point, back then it was an ingredient for disaster on many fronts. And I'm certainly not suggesting that, that there wasn't ownership to be had within the Parker and Associates enterprise and their peers, perhaps, that also were in similar situations. Usually there's always blame to be had on all parties, and it's incumbent upon, the person or the entity to take introspection and know that, hey, I didn't do it all right either. And, the adage that comes readily to mind is there's no shortcut to success. We're always, and the insurance business is notorious for this. We're always looking for, that magic pill or a shortcut to success, and it just doesn't exist. And I'm no soothsayer, and so I wouldn't attempt to, guess what's going to transpire next. But certainly our intuition would suggest that we're on the brink of some changes, right? But if you're committed to always doing things right, and that's what I love about your platform of transparency, collaboration. You're trying to put good education out there. And for that agent or advisor that's coming into the business and is committed to integrity and ethics and doing things right and trying to serve, you hear my good friend and colleague Brandon Clay, one of his maxims is, "As you serve, you deserve," and I believe in that, and that's, you try to foster a culture, of doing things right and knowing that mistakes are going to happen. They just are. We're in the people business, full of imperfect humans. you know, and you never want to have tolerance for egregious actions. There needs to be consequences. There needs to be discipline, you know, but to your point, you know, sometimes it's unfortunate. There are examples that are made that
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So, you know, some of the guys that are running some of those organizations that they might have looked up one day and been like, oh, I see what we did wrong. But it might not have been like that they understood. Like a few years ago, you know, everybody was running around talking about cancer screening tests.
Oh God, yeah.
And I just remember like, and then somebody brought another thing up. I won't even bring it up on here that sounded too. I'm like, is that legal? You know. So now I'm kind of like, anytime it's like, hey, this is like insurance is already too good to be true, in my opinion, from a residual recurring revenue standpoint. If you can understand that, young people a lot of times get pulled into the industry and told to sell final expense, and final expense is good, but you know, we're big believers in leading with health and cross-selling final expense. It's stickier, it's better, and the health residual income is something they don't understand. Young people, they're like, oh wow, I can sell this and I make that. I can sell this and I make it. They're thinking very transactionally versus building a renewal-based business. And so when you when you understand the compounding residual income is the ninth wonder of the world, because the eighth, I think Einstein said, was compounding interest. The ninth wonder of the world's compounding residual renewals, right? And it's better than interest, by the way. But when you understand that, it's already better than anything else. There's no shortcut to it, but it's completely worth the long cut to create. And when you understand there's no shortcut, when something comes out and it says, hey, you can go put everybody on a free plan F now, and it's the same. Okay, you know, is that real? Or, hey, you can go out and you can set up a tent at a flea market and you can swab people's cheek and you just send it in and you make $800 every time. Really? Is that, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes if it sounds cliche or corny or goofy, like my immediate thing is run for the hills. But there's so many agents, and I have some of them that work for me. They'll come to me and tell me, hey, like, you know, and I'm not going to name dropping, but I had this conversation with the other days. Hey, this guy told me he spent $16,000 on seminar creation, and he's got $160 million in assets ready to in a room ready to roll over, and he wants to charge us $1,000 to teach us how to do it. And I was like, if I could do that, that's what I do all day. $1,000.
Yeah, your $1,000.
$1,000. What are you talking about? You got $160 million ready.
We're gonna put that on hold so I can show you. On hold so I can teach somebody how to do it for $1,000. But you know, some people don't understand that, and I don't know if that just comes with like business maturity, or some people are more default to it. But the shiny object syndrome in the industry is bad on multiple fronts. It's bad on, you know, the creation of fads that can be issues. And I honestly think some smart people have fallen subject to private equity shiny object syndrome. But see, the thing is, some of them are able to cash out early on. And this is not me demonizing, and I've told you this. I don't private equity, and I was talking to Baish about this yesterday, who's with Amerilife. Private equity certainly has a place. He's participated in private equity. Like, it's not a private equity is bad. It's when the right now the current, like, you have a call center that says, I'm going to pop up overnight. I'm going to do what I was talking about, you know, just live transfers, and they're building it to sell within 3 years or go public and cash out all this money. Well, they just don't have the end user, the client in mind. And, you know, you can say I'm being sentimental about that client, but even if you just think about it from a business standpoint, industries have to think about the end user for forever to survive. And so when you think about private equity, and I always hope that like private equity people that are interested in our market will listen to me. Make sure in your due diligence when you're talking to people that you're partnering with to give them your millions of dollars to start these ventures, or you're fronting it, that the goal is to build a practice that's going to last 100 years. Because if you're not building a practice to last 100 years, you're really just building a little bubble, and it'll pop. So
no, I agree. And I got a comment on private equity before I go there. I have to, since you brought up my boy Baish, all right, I got a bone to pick with you, because So this, which I'm love what you're doing, Medicare conference, but you're peeling away my defensive coordinator. I don't even know if you know this. So we coach flag football together.
Oh, really?
So I intend on being in the championship game that Saturday.
Oh,
And
man.
he's speaking at your event, and he's my defensive coordinator.
Oh,
so I'm pretty frustrated
dude,
with you right now.
I'll tell you what, what's going to happen.
I might have to zoom him in, for the game.
What you're going to find out is he's terrible. He's a terrible on your staff. So you just need to, once you don't have him and you're making those plays, you're going to be like, I don't think I need base.
Yeah. You'll realize it.
I got to give props when props are due. And we got a steel curtain for a defense. I'm telling you, he's done a tremendous job.
Are his boys on that team?
So Luke's on the team, with us, and then my son Will Major, is playing as well. They're having a great season, and so actually what happened here was we had a rain out or something. They extended the schedule a week.
Yeah,
and it run interference with your conference, so we had our epiphany last week, and so we were in tears, but no, it's been a lot of fun, and and again,
that's stuff really serious, man. Base and you as well. I know, testament to you guys are, as busy as I know you are. You guys take a lot of time for your family, and sometimes people say to me online, they're like, you need to take it easy and spend time with your family, and I'm kind of like, don't worry about my family. Like, I got my family. Like, I can work really hard and be a good dad. And if you want to see an example of that, Scotty and Baish, and Baish is very involved with his kids and loves his family. He just loves to work too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're providing a good role model for our kids. And to your point, family is everything for me. And my why is on the anvil daily in this career, because it is very demanding. And, but, I always, and Elena, who's my best friend and wife of 17 years, we talk about it frequently. Hey, do you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are the sacrifices too much? And, to this point, 13 years into the business, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, but always sensitive and discerning, to what God has for me. But I would never, fortunately, I've made time. You can do it. I choose to believe I can at least be pursuant to being an excellent husband, excellent father, and excellent in my leadership role here. And I don't always get it right.
Is divide up your 24-hour day. Let's figure out where you're really wasting your time.
Yeah.
I find it's not normally work or family that's getting a disproportionate amount of the time. It's sleep and BS that's getting too much of your time. If you've had time to watch a whole lot of TV, play video games, prowl on social media too much, or if you're sleeping 9-10 hours a day, you're probably wasting it there. When I break down a day, if I can sleep 7 hours, maybe in 8 hours, and then I can spend 4 hours with my kids, guess what? I still got 12 hours to work. Yep. So that's like, and then I have weekends where I'm going to spend even more of that time with my family. But, people sometimes when they say that, I kind of get defensive about it, because I'm like, I think it's a cop out for them to try to throw it at you like, oh, you're working too much. It must be coming from your family. But I don't find that. I think it's coming from me. It's coming from sleep and BS time spent doing things that are not really worth doing anyway.
They're caught up on all the seasons.
Yeah, caught up on all they're making time for binge watching TV versus their family and work. So, but no, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. No. But you're somebody in the industry that I do look at as just from my observation. I don't know you well enough to really know, but sometimes you can just get the feel of who's got their priorities right, of where they're spending their time and how they want to organize their life. And I'm certainly not perfect, and I know you aren't either, but that being a role model is somebody to try to architect a lifestyle where you can give it all to what we're doing and what our mission here is, while still giving it all to our family and still taking care of ourselves. That's the balance, not taking away from, work, family, or self, taking away from the things that aim to steal your time away from you completely.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate that so much, Justin, and it's very important to me, and it's not easy, but nothing in life worth having is easy, right? I
That's
mean,
right.
and that's another cliche we throw out, but I think that the most paramount component is just communication. Staying engaged. Make a time for your wife to communicate. It's easy. You know, if you're not careful to let that go asunder, and it takes constant gardening. And whether you're personal life, professional life, and so that's what we try to do. But it's a lot of fun. I'm in a great period of life right now. I got a 10-year-old son, who melts me every time I see him. Fourth grader, my sixth grader, Katie Scott's 12. She's preteen. All that comes along with that. So that's been a challenge, but very rewarding. Just tremendous.
Mine are the opposite of that, by the way. I have a 11-year-old going on 12 boy and a 9-year-old going on 10 girl. So, and she's already preteen mode. He's actually very unemotional. It seems like he's just kind of going into stoicism mode, but he's like very 15, 16, but she's not even 10 yet. So I know what you go through there, because they're very close in age.
Oh yeah. But and they've been so supportive of me. So obviously we share, our love for the Magnolia State. So I was there for 22 years, so I consider it home still. And my kids were born there. My wife was born and raised there. Just love everything about Mississippi. And so that was a big deal. Most people think, oh, you moved from Mississippi to Clearwater, Florida. Like, I feel bad for you, but it was home. And my kids left friends, and we left our church. Elena left family. All to support this career path, and I'm so thankful for that. And fortunately, it's been a tremendous move. We've been down here for 2 years, and we've ingratiated ourselves into the culture here. It's been great.
Hopefully,
It's
when
been
you went down there,
individual.
you bought a house, because it's probably worth double when you got down there, because that
Well,
housing market is crazy.
it is insane, and I wish I could say I did that right out of the gate. I didn't. We rented for like a year and a half. We just closed on a house in January, and we're doing some
Man,
renovations to it. And paid a lot more than I ever wanted to or expected to. But that goes back to, I think, your comments about private equity. If I could tie in a house purchase to that,
yeah,
private equity is not the problem.
right,
It's the systemic greed of man.
right,
That's really what it is. If we're honest,
yeah.
it's not private equity problem.
Right. The private
It's
equities money, they intend to have a return on investment, and to have a return on investment long term, you have to do the right thing and build the right business. You're absolutely right. It's the people that aren't completely forthcoming, and woo someone into giving the private equity under false pretenses or misinformation or something like that. Yeah.
well, and what's been reinforced time and again for me, is look, I was happy as a lark, being a high school football coach, and I don't mind telling you, I was making $36,000 a year. Now you know, I had an accounting degree and an MBA, and I was coaching high school football and was loving every minute of it. And God provided. We were a dual income family, and so I've had that kind of income, and then I've made more money than I ever thought, possible. And what I would tell you, look, money is definitely, I'm thankful for what it provides and the experiences I'm able to do, but it doesn't bring happiness or fulfillment. I've interfaced with filthy rich millionaires, across this industry and beyond. And, there's some of the most miserable people, I've ever met. And, not to get off on a on a soapbox with
No,
you, but
it's
as a
actually
testimony, I mean,
perfect.
well, that's why
Good.
what I see, what to me is attractive to what you guys are doing with your firm is that you seem to have a why that certainly transcends money.
Mhm.
And I think you could tell it's palpable, and that's what I'm always trying to do, again, with Elena and with the kids, is always check ourselves. We sometimes we got to step back, hit the pause button. Hey, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing?
Right.
Because life is short. Hopefully we're sowing some eternal seeds that have impact beyond our time here. And for me, if you've got your health, thank God you've got everything, because you have to take each day at a time, bloom where you're planted. It's really, again, I know it's cliche, but embrace what your why is, which means you have to take some time to unplug periodically from the distractions of our society, which abound, and just take time for contemplation. How often do people really step back and just sit and think?
Yeah.
And anyway, again,
Tell
not to
you
get off.
when I go on a trip. So like we just got back from 11 or 12 days in Turks and Caicos with my family. In the last several days, we actually went to I think that's one of those emergency alerts. Must have been holding your emergency button. But when I go off towards the end of that, we went to this place. Actually, I'll give a shout out to it. It's called Chalk Sound in Turks and Caicos. It's on a lake where you have the Caribbean on one side. It's like a lake, and there's two berms on each side. The Caribbean's on one side, the Atlantic's on the other. We're on this house that you can't even see the other houses around. It's actually not even. It was the way it was priced is better than the all-inclusive resorts. But when I spent that time there towards the end of it, like that's when I'm like emailing back and I'm doing stuff because my brain is able to turn on in a way that gives you that invigoration. And I want that for the people that work for me too. I'm like, I need you to take, some time to
we
do
get
that.
more work sent to us from Justin when he's on vacation than when he's in the office. So
because I have time to think, sometimes when you're in here, you get to be, and it's necessary to be in it some too, because, you're helping shovel the dirt, or so to speak, and take care of that work. But when you get outside of it and you're looking back and, you start to think like, where do I want to be? What's going to make me happy? And to your point about money not making you happy, money certainly can be a resource that can help, when you're in a good state. It can make you even happier, but you have to have the default state because you have to have things. Right. And there's a Entree Leadership podcast with Mark Cuban and Dave Ramsey. And I know Dave's not exactly a friend of the industry, but he certainly knows some things, right? And one of the things he was talking about was we have a plague in our country and maybe the world, especially in America, where people aren't taught dignity. And he was talking about how, some kids never get to go out and mow the yard and weed eat and then look at it at the end of the day and think and feel good. Like, I did that. I've accomplished that. Or you start a long run and you're like, I don't want to run. I don't want to work out. But then you go run 5 miles and then you come back and you're like, I'm so glad I did that. Those feelings of accomplishment for me that is happiness. Like you take that away, you could give me $1 billion and I'm going to go stir crazy. It just doesn't work that way for me. That feeling of accomplishment is what makes people happy, I think. And that can be, it doesn't have to always be work. It can be kids. It can be, but I honestly was very fortunate. My dad was a yard work Nazi. So we were planting Bradford pears down second driveways and pruning crepe myrtles and, transplanting dirt. Actually, for punishment, he used to make me dig a 6x6 hole, 6 foot deep, 6 foot wide on both sides, square hole, and then dig it on the other side and transplant the dirt. That was one of the punishments we did. But doing yard work like that, it was fulfilling. You'd accomplish something, you'd look back and you'd see it. And so that for me, and that's something I think we all have to teach our kids is that feeling of accomplishment. Start with small things. Sports are a big teacher of that. Feeling accomplished. It's not about winning all the time. Just in winning, it could be equated to money there. It's not about being the champion. It's about working hard and being better than what you were yesterday. And small wins, inches, touchdowns, RBIs, like all these little things that aren't the home run. I'm not Mark McGwire, but I'm helping move this team along. That's what makes people happy, in my opinion. Money only intensify that. It can't create it. It only intensifies.
Yeah, there's a foundation for happiness, and it's not money.
Right.
Money maybe increases that.
Yeah.
But the foundation is not money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I hope that your listenership is really paying attention, right? Because I think inadvertently that theme has kind of woven itself throughout this podcast. goes back to there's no shortcut to success, right? But there's true fulfillment in knowing that, hey, I put in the work, I put in the time, I put in the effort, and I've sowed the seeds, watered them, and now I'm reaping a harvest. There's nothing more rewarding than that. And I think you're spot on, look, and there's conviction all over me right now when I think about as I parent my kids, which is, my number one priority. That's tough as a parent, especially when you do have the resources, and you're tired, and it's easy to say, hey, I'm just going to give you this, but we're not doing our kids any favors and the next generation any favors, and we're developing a weak society that'll come in on you, and
that goes back to what is it? Weak men. Is it strong men create weak or easy times create weak men create hard times? It's that cycle of, society and our human history. But, and I find myself doing that where I will make things easier for my kids than it was for me, because I have the means to, and then I'll feel conviction for that. And I'll sometimes knee jerk. And really the knee-jerk reaction is not good there either. It should be like a fluid plan to interject. And it doesn't mean that I have to make them dig 6 by 6 by 6 holes and transplant dirt, but should they go out and plant a tree and water it every day and see it prosper? It's really just small things. Dignity doesn't have to be, like doing something just super grandiose. It can start with small wins. And because again, the money doesn't buy the happiness. The size of the event that you had, the size of the win doesn't create it. It's the winning in general. There are plenty of people that don't make a lot of money. Just like you said, as a football coach, it's the small incremental things that made you happy. You can be happy in that same exact element. The money can only help if you have that base. So, well, Scotty, dude, appreciate you being here, man. I know we're going to see you a bunch in the next couple of years because you guys got a lot of good stuff going on. We got a lot of good stuff going on, and there's just no way two groups with, great stuff going on aren't crossing paths more. So appreciate you being here.
Enjoyed it.
Anything we can do for you, let us know. And anybody that's looking to, partner with Amerilife on anything or has any questions for Scotty, what's the best way for him to get in touch with you?
Oh, goodness. I would say give me an email. How about that? S Elliott, ELLIOTT at Amerilife.com. And to Justin's point, I'd relish a chance to, talk with you and learn more about you. And Justin, to you and Steven, I can't thank you enough. This was a great way to start my day, and kudos to you all for your work ethic. And as I said in the beginning of the call, there's no question you're a positive impact player in our industry. I love the stuff that you're doing. And hey, I'm going to miss Medicare Con, but then we wouldn't have a coach at our football game. So
one of you has to be there.
But one of us has to be there.
So, well,
next, give you a pass.
There's next
we'll
year.
Give you a pass on this one.
I hear, through the grapevine that it's highly likely that Medicare Con 2023
closer to you
will be a little closer to you. So
I like the sound of that.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scotty.
Guys.
All right, it's time to train like a guru. Go Guru University is an ever-expanding, cutting-edge, interactive training platform with live weekly coaching calls constructed to train agents efficiently and compliantly. Go Guru University offers a library of training modules explaining Medicare A to Z, face-to-face and telesales training, SEO and other marketing, and much more. Visit goguru.university to schedule your one-on-one demo today.